is one of the billheads I got. I thought I put it in from the 1880s of the old lots showing the front with the pillars to which these fiery bulls were tethered on market day. But you can see how they did obstruct the passage of people through, again, a very, very fine building. Diolch. Andrews even had their own delivery van, because Danbro's Relay, Londoners Renewis, they had a bottling store, and they used to bottle Guinness from the casks. And you can see them there in the crates. This is Mr. Jones of Andrews. It's a very early and interesting registration plate there. But we're now looking, we're in the top of what I mentioned to us, Brooklyn, on that corner building where Roberts had their little shop, where he went afterwards. But this was Andrews, who had their own bottling store. The workers there for many, many years were the two Mr. Royleses, Gwynedd Royles, the chemist's father, and his brother, Tom and Will Freud. They worked for years in Andrews, bottling the Guinness from the... And as far as I know, they were pretty teetotal too. Yeah. There's a fine view of the way the depot was busy in days gone by. I put this in particularly though because it's the best picture I happen to have of yet another inn where Irwin's used to be years ago on the High Street, just where these steps are here on the right. And that inn was called the Harp. The Harp Inn. And imagine that late on a Saturday night, that those steps would have taken quite a bit of negotiating for the ordinary inebriated customer. Just as a point of interesting passing, this shop, Robert's Hobbits, right on the corner, burned down in the 60s or 70s, if you remember. And it was called Tan Swan. Now, many, many years ago, and you remember the Swan was where the middle bank is. Well, the business, this little maker shop, had been below that Swan. But when they moved the shop from there up onto the High Street, they brought the name Tan Swan below the Swan with them, although they were nowhere near the Swan. So Tan Swan is all to us. But that's sadly gone down and disappeared. Diolch. Now we come to the shop where the Halifax Building Society is today. Known for many of us, Shop Roberts Owen, a star shop, Shop of Star. Thus called because half of that shop at one time used to be the Star Inn. And there you see her sign, Elizabeth Jones, licensed to sell ale, porter, wines and spirits. I'm really tickled by the attitude of those two boys. I can imagine them saying, so what? They're standing in a very challenging way. They may not be standing in the right place, but they were. The Robert Owen, who will be Anne Lanson's great-grandfather, he eventually bought the Star out when it closed and absorbed it into the present shop, which of course is the Halifax Building Society today. Diolch. We've come above that shop now to where Peter's here this evening, to the Druid Inn. And that shop of Evan Jones is called right up the Druid Buildings. Now at one stage, lots of you here will remember that Peter's uncle had a lower shop as a newsagent shop. Then Peter's father, W, had the electrician shop. And then right at the very end was a tiny, tiny shop kept by a man called Edwin Roberts, known colloquially as Gessi Grisbach. More about him a little later on. But the whole shop eventually was, the whole building eventually was absorbed into the one family. And I'm very sorry to tell you, Peter, publicly, with all these people here present, that the Druid Inn had the worst reputation of any in the town. It was described as a very disreputable house. And they even served drink to drunken women. So, I have to tell you the truth. That's what it hurts. Diolch. It's a lovely inn now. And at the far right of the building is the nearest I got to a picture of the Britannia Inn. And above it is Lovely Inn Garage, where many of us remember the late Cecil Evans had his garage for many, many years. Before Cecil took over the garage, it was owned by the two gentlemen standing on the far right, the two Mr. Williamses. Very nice old gentlemen they were. And they were actually coach builders. They built these cars in that particular garage. The licensee of the Britannia, for many, many years, kept a wheelwright yard right across the road. If you next time you're passing through the lane, look across the road to the Britannia and you'll see there is a yard there. And Mr. Wheeler used to be there up to the Second World War. But very often you found that there were so many inns in Denby that lots of these landlords, particularly in the smaller inns, had to combine another occupation with that of being landlord so they could get out in existence. And he obviously worked as a wheelwright. Diolch. Coming down into the castle area, we're looking down from Denby Castle, down towards the Burgess's Tavern, which was the entrance to the town walls. Because here on the left, you'll see this castellated building. Now, if you are lucky enough to possess a copy of Ancient and Modern Denby by John Williams, that's very illustrious historian of Denby, you will see that he mentions that in Ancient and Modern Denby, that this particular building was an Elizabethan inn. And it's the second oldest building to have been an inn in the research that I made, that I discovered. An Elizabethan inn, and it would, as you'd expect, be within the compass of the town walls, in the oldest part of the town. Diolch. Now we're up, right up, facing the castle almost, as it were, the castle arms. Speaking of the age of buildings, this is probably the oldest which was ever an inn. Between this building and the tower of what used to be St Hilary's Church was a very large building at one time called the Friesland Hall. Some connection with Denmark, I don't know what it was. And it's said in an architectural report on this building that this was part of the hall at one time, and that parts of this building dates back to the 13th century. So we're back at a contemporary time with the building of the castle itself. This inn, by the way, also had a very poor reputation for drunkenness. It was the resort of poachers, apparently, and was also kept for many years by the man who subsequently married the mother of H.M. Stanley. And H.M. Stanley often stayed in this inn when he came to Denby, with his mother, of course, and his stepfather. The Castle Arms. You may remember more recently that Dr. Elliot lived there. The house has been much modernised and much changed by today, of course. Diolch. Coming back now, down to the bottom of what I mentioned earlier. I think I've gone out of line here, of course. This is the E.P. Jones, the grocer I was telling you about earlier, with where the Conservative Club is now. You can see in the distance Gwyn Thomas's old house from the surgery, and on the right would be the old Penford Cafe kept by the grandmother of John Howell Williams, the late chemist. This building here is where the King's Head used to be. And in front of it, for many, many years, were the old town stocks where people who were offended were put. In the distance on the right-hand side, where the group of people are gathered, you can just see them standing outside the inn, which was known as the Red Lion. Now, all this right-hand side of Bridge Street was taken down in the very early 1930s, I believe, 32, 33, and Bridge Street had to be considerably widened. That's why all the shops on the right-hand side, from Woolworths, where Woolworths used to be going down, look so much newer than the other buildings. That was the Red Lion. And of course the next one we come down to is the Plantway. Now, on the left-hand side, if you come down Bridge Street, that is the shop where Jim Roberts the saddler used to be, facing Dr. Thomas's surgery. And that in fact is Jim Roberts' father, old John Roberts, a saddler shop. And that used to be the White Horse Inn, another well-known establishment in Denby. Next door to it, I couldn't get a picture of this at all, more or less where Harold Rose the watch shop used to be. That was another inn called the Church Castle Arms. And the Church Castle Arms was kept by a very famous nonconformist family in Denby called the Mellish family. And it was their custom, they were a very religious family, keeping it in, but they conducted a morning service every morning in the inn. And it was a custom for lots of Denby people to go outside in the morning and take part in this particular service. But there we have the White Horse, where the saddle shop used to be facing the Bronfenor surgery. Diolch.